Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Pharma Insights, the talk show brought to you by Platforce. As you may already know, our aim in this series is to connect professionals from all around the globe and create a community based on exchange, network, and meet colleagues from all over from everywhere. And if there is a possibility, create new businesses and deals. As you may already know, my name is Juliana Kreisel, and I will be one of your moderators for today. In this episode, we will explore how to integrate sales and marketing in order to generate and enhance HCP engagement. We will explore also how the CRM can enhance it and the benefits of the digitalization in the field force activity. So, without any further delay, because everyone is anxious for this talk show, let me introduce my co-host and colleague, Stefan Rappin, the head of marketing here at Platforce. Hi, Steph. How are you doing?
Hey, here's talking Stefan, for now, the head of marketing at Platforce. Really glad
Don't
to meet
say
you.
that.
I'm really glad to meet you guys. Well, anything can happen. Really glad to see you guys, everyone, guys and girls, see you here. I'm really happy to be delivering this podcast. Your joy, your experience is what we would love the most. So feel free to comment, give suggestions to the show, anything like that. So your comments is our air. Okay, so the more comments you have, the more air we're gonna have. So please be kind.
Thank you. And I would love to introduce our panel. Our first speaker for today is Harmeet Seth. Harmeet, how are you doing today?
Hi, good, thanks. How are you both?
We're good. Do you want to? We will love and I know our audience will love to hear more about you. So if you want to give us a brief introduction.
Yeah, sure. Yes, and thank you for inviting me to speak. Super exciting topic. So yes, I'm Harmeet. Nice to meet everybody who's joined. Background is quite varied, but in a nutshell, I've been in the industry sort of over 12, 13 years now within healthcare. Funnily enough, I started off doing social media marketing for clinical trial recruitment. So I was seen as the great new shiny toy, digital social media, when it wasn't even at its peak. So my whole background has been in sort of digital engagement, multi-channel, omni-channel, whatever you want to call it. My strategies, tools, methodologies have been integrated into the agencies I've worked for and also within in-house in pharma. So,
Nice.
Yeah, lots.
Well, that's a good thing. And I know our audience really love a very diverse and a nutshell, let's say, of experience. So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for being part of this talk show. And our second speaker for today in this beautiful panel is Mehrnaz Campbell. Hello.
Hi there. It's good to
Hello.
see you all.
How are you doing? How's
Um,
everything today?
it's really good, and I'm really excited to be here. And thank you for inviting me. It's a sunny day in Pennsylvania, so yeah, I'm really happy.
Jealous.
Love it. Same here. So we will love, as same as Harmeet, if you can give us a brief of yourself, that will be very helpful for our audience.
You asking Harmit or me?
No, you.
Yeah, okay. You said Harmit. That's why I got confused.
It's
I'm
okay.
Mehrnaz Campbell. I've been working in the healthcare sector for 37 years. I initially was a nurse. I worked for NHS in the UK, and in 1992, I joined the
Yeah.
pharmaceutical industry. Worked in various sales and marketing roles with GSK, Pfizer, and Takeda. And in 2017, I founded my own company, Chemia, and during lockdown, we developed our own digital global brands called Chemia Reset and Chemia Reinspire. Our purpose really is about unleashing the human potential to create a healthier world. And my vision is to inspire pharma commercial teams and marketing teams to shift from being the message bearers to becoming the HCP advisors. And we do this through our market access and sales pull through strategies that we provide for our clients. But we also do this through our digital brands. We help individuals and teams to achieve exponential growth, both professionally and personally, and help them feel proud whilst they're having fun doing their work that is really valuable.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. Thank our panel, and I would also like to thank the attendees for being part of this talk show. We wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. As Stefan is saying in the comments, if you have any questions or any comments at any time, please let us know. Write it down, and we will definitely bring it up here so we can ask our experts about it. So without any further delay, Steph, do you want to start with this?
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, I mean, ladies always come first, but I'll start for now. Cool. Okay, so I'll full disclaimer. I'm reading Mehrnaz's book about omnichannel, and it's really interesting. It's a very good read for me. And before actually starting with pharma, I used to be in SaaS, different industry, and in SaaS, a very big point is the alignment, marketing and sales alignment. And as far as I know, in pharma, it's been popular. Very popular the model where marketing goes and pays money for market research, which costs like a lot of money, maybe $1 million, $2 million, whatever. And then they come with certain trends and then certain words and branded strategies that they go to the salespeople and they say, okay, look, now you have to use this because this is what we saw in the market. Well, salespeople maybe try it, maybe they don't, but they come out and they say, look, this is not working what you're saying. It's too much brand. There's too much me in it, right? Like it's not like doctors don't get it. They don't understand it. So for me, the first question would be, since Harmeet is here, like I'm really happy that we have Harmeet here because she's all engagement. She's all about HCP engagement. Am I right, Harmeet?
Yeah, pretty much. Although I'm scared
amazing.
now.
we got only rock stars here. So my question would be, how can you generate content that will sort of combine, that will give you the user engagement, the HCP engagement, and will also work for marketing? And how can these two areas work together? And Harmeet, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. To be honest, there's quite a few things, and I think having the privilege of working with different clients, different pharmaceutical clients, I've seen quite a lot of variety when it comes to how much we're engaging and getting the sales reps involved or the sales force involved. And to be honest, even recently, I'm just working on a project and we're actually having, for example, the sales force go through the content whilst it's being developed for a new launch. So simple, but it's still not being done often. So I have like a couple of rules in my head and things that I would advise. Also, one of them being like treat your field force a bit like KOLs, if you like. Have a panel, get them involved early. I've seen pharma companies where they're getting them involved in their quarterly cycle meetings, monthly reviews, reviewing briefs, reviewing first stage content. So I think we need to be getting them engaged a lot more. The second thing that I always focus on is when we're producing content, be sure to provide the flexibility for the reps to use what content they need. And I think that's really important. I make sure that we have a modular content strategy approach where, based on what we know about our audiences and their personas, etc., but I give the content in a way that's bite-sized and flexible to allow the force to use what they need. They know the audiences, the customers well. So I think that's really important. And then I think another thing is definitely having the feedback between the two. And learnings. I've worked at a pharma company. I'm very impressed with how they're integrating the data, taking learnings from the CRM as well as automated. So that always happens because I always do so many hand actions. So yeah, I think it's really important to also the collaboration. I go off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
Well, I think the computer also agrees with you because you had balloons.
Yes.
So that's
Lovely.
guys, I would love to hear more, but we have a question from the audience, and if you guys want to bring it up, or
Yes, I think we should audience first. We've been
okay,
just talking about HCPs only.
okay, 1 second. We have a question from one attendee is saying, "Hello everyone, greetings of today. Can you explain what channels and formats are most effective for reaching and engaging with healthcare providers?" Who wants to tackle that?
I'm
Mhm.
quite happy to go for it. I
Yes.
think channel is important, but it's not the most important thing. I think the content needs to be relevant. It needs to be at the time that the HCPs need it. Then channel becomes the key thing. And I think it was last year at the conference, I asked the audience amongst the marketeers and leaders, do they honestly think the content is relevant to address the HCP's pain point? And half of them didn't think it was. And the other half that thought the content was relevant, I asked them, do you deliver it at the time HCPs need it? And nobody did. So the channel becomes a bit irrelevant if your content is not relevant and is not delivered on time. So I mean, I would say go back and make sure that those things are ticked. And then in terms of what channel is the best or most effective, it all depends who you're talking to. HCPs are not using one single channel. All of us are multi-channel. I mean, think about your own purchasing decision. Anything you want to buy, you probably look online, you probably look at reviews, you talk to a friend, you reach to your network, and maybe you talk to somebody or a salesperson, but you just don't use a single channel. And HCPs are the same. They use various channels to find out information, to make decisions. I think as an industry, we need to be more fluid to flex and use the channel they prefer. And even with a single HCPs, if you look at the like a pattern of flow of conversation you have with them, it might start from an email, then it would go into a Teams meeting, then it would be exchange of emails, then it might be a face-to-face, and then go back to email, depending on where they are on the journey of adoption and what they need. But the most important thing we need to think about is customer is the one who needs to be able to demand information, and then we orchestrate ourselves around to meet their need and flex.
I like it.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
I just want to add to that really quickly. I wanted Mehrnaz to go first because they probably won't like my answer. But I have to completely agree. And what I would say, and the thing I always annoy everybody about is, where's my media data? I want to know what their habits and preferences are. I want that data. I want that learnings. If we don't have it, okay, let's at least do a digital landscaping online. I.e. professional stalking, but you get an idea. But you get and it's completely different. And just really quickly to give you a real life example, like to Mehrnaz's point, me and my husband are both trying to buy cars. He's taking 3 months, I take a week. He's watching YouTube videos, I look on 2 websites. You see the differences? So
I have the same issue. Yeah, my husband, until he decided what car he wanted, we watched thousands of YouTube
it takes 4 months for him. It's ridiculous.
No, and it was
I'm less than 2 weeks.
I went to the car dealer and I just sat on the car and said, "I like this. Let's buy it." And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
But
Harmeet,
yeah.
I was going to say, collecting that, social listening information is not
Mhm.
always true, because we did a panel discussion and one of the participants was like a digital analyst from Middle East, and he said they analyzed the preferences of HCPs for channel, and what they found was what the research indicated was not aligned with the actual behavior that they had. So they like research says they would prefer to do this, and then the actual behavior showed they prefer like reading emails over the weekend. And I think looking at the real behavior is a better indicator of just research behaviors.
Hmm.
No, I
And
agree.
And someone else who was in the panel, she said, like, if you ask her whether she would prefer to go to the cinema or watch Netflix, she would say cinema. But if she looked at her behavior in the last 24 months leading up to the time she answered that, she said
Yeah,
she's
fair.
never been to cinema at all, even though that's her
Yeah, fair.
preference. Yeah.
Yeah, fair. I mean, definitely ideal is to work with your media partners or vendors. They should have access to regional, global media data, because there's always those surveys happening. That's my go-to, but you don't always get that for various reasons.
Great.
Which leads me to the next question, right? So we were talking about the research and what happens in the real world, because because I think that's the difference between qualitative and quantitative research, right? So because quantitative research is macroeconomics, and you never know how that can turn into one single being. You know, the butterfly theory says that every time a butterfly moves, things change. So if a person knows his or her future, at that moment his future already changed, so it's not the same. So let me go down from all these like interesting smart moves and go into the importance of feedback from sales to marketing when it comes to pharma. So how can sales come to marketing and say what's the best way how they can sort of like give feedback when it comes to the HCP engagement, HCP real behavior, not what's in the market research that they delivered? Mehrnaz, you can start.
Yeah, I think I really loved what Harmeet said earlier on. Says like if you're creating content, involve the HCPs early and have discussion panels with them. But it's not just involving them; it's actually listening and taking action based on the feedback they give you. It's not just collecting the feedback; it's acting on it. And I think the acid test is when you give content to the field team, they present to the HCPs, they get immediate feedback. So if the field team are not using material, that's feedback on itself. You need to investigate why they're not using it. It might be the material not resonating. So I think I really would encourage marketeers to listen to the feedback from the field force and then ask the why and scratch the surface to see what's behind it, because they have probably more interactions with HCPs, and the material that really resonates with HCPs are the materials that either directly addresses their pain point or they somehow shape development of that material. So I think by working much more closely between sales and marketing, we can align better with the HCP's needs. And that's why I think that feedback loop is really important. And I think now more than ever before, I see the value of that, breaking down the silos. And I think in the relationship we've got with our clients is very much of a tag team. The marketing is asking us, so what other contents do we need? What are the gaps? What's resonating? And we provide that feedback. But we also say these are the gaps we have. So these are the scenarios we're encountering, and we need approved email content for this scenario. We need email approved content for that scenario. And what we find is when the field team ask for content, guess what? They're going to use it. And when they use it, it creates that much more of a partnership between sales and marketing.
Okay, makes sense. Harmeet, do you want to add anything?
I was just having an interesting conversation the other day about sort of the motivations, and this friend of mine works within pharma, so the motivations actually for reps, and also the opportunity for them to be involved with more than just their day-to-day without giving them an additional burden. By the way, I know they're under a lot of pressure and stress and loads of things to do, but giving them that availability and that chance for their voice to be heard and be actively involved in the content and the communications that they're going to have to use is just so important, for example. So like I was saying before, I have seen panels of field force that are leveraged frequently for an entire kind of campaign cycle, for example, and that's really important. And then also, I'm also noticing even their feedback when it comes to understanding targeting and the importance. I'm seeing it right now with a client, the marketing's targeting list for launch and their field forces and how they're working together. And then also, how are we orchestrating the communications between the two? That comes down to even reviewing their target lists.
Okay, that's an interesting. Sorry for interrupting. That's an interesting
No.
topic. Let's jump into that. Like, how do you
Oh,
orchestrate?
damn it.
No, it is very interesting for me. In fact, this is
Yeah. It's real. It's happening right now, and it's not easy. Just saying.
Yeah.
So sorry. What was your question, Stefan?
That was the question. So how do you orchestrate that? Like, we need a real life example. That's why we're here.
Yeah. We're planning it at the moment, to be honest. So where do I start? There's a lot going on. So like I mentioned, we have the access to their field force. We've got 5 of them, super important, super crucial. And what we are seeing, although slightly traditional to kind of leveraging CRM platforms, what they can truly do, I am able to understand and see their target lists and their priority small target for launch within the first 6 months. And then I'm working with the media partners for every single tactic we are going to do from a non-personal promotion campaign, MPP campaign. We are identifying and cross-referencing the target lists because I am orchestrating from personal to non-personal. I am orchestrating if you're going to these 20 with these VAEs, for example, how are we going to hit them with which activity at what point? And I don't want double messaging.
I kind of like think marketing, if marketing's trying to control the targeting, we're missing a game here, because
but that's sorry.
I think what we need to measure is what really matters. So sometimes targeting is not really to drive sales, it's to drive activity. And I think measuring what matters means, if you say to the sales force that the outcome is driving sales and performance, the sales force are smart commercial people. They pick accounts that are going to give the performance. But if you're going to measure the sales force based on coverage and frequency, then they're going to pick the targets that are going to give them the numbers to hit their KPIs. So I think we've got to be really honest. And I think what happens if you sit in a boardroom, developing a strategy about targeting and segmentation, you come up with ideas that are perfect theoretically, but when you go out in the field, if you don't have access to those high potential accounts, you won't be able to drive the business. And we find in reality is we do targeting and segmentation in the field, and we often get 80% of the sales coming from 20% of the accounts. But those accounts that are early adopters are not the most highly potential accounts. And sometimes it takes 18 months to 2 years to get those big accounts moving, because the decision making within the healthcare organization is more complex. The more stakeholders are involved. For them to get in a committee to make a consensus, that takes much longer. So we find medium-sized accounts are much faster to adopt, and you can get the market share from single digit to 70% within 18 months. And those big giant accounts that have high potential, it would take them about 18 months to get them on board. Once they get going, they can turn huge. So you need to have a portfolio of accounts, the ones that are going to give you the early growth and the one that are going to give you later. But I think if marketing dictates segmentation, it becomes very much theoretical. There needs to be a dialogue between the two, and there needs to be that healthy tension to say, no, I'm not going to pick these accounts because I don't have access, or they're not interested to engage. So it's like, if you look at the 4-box grid, on one axis you're looking at potential, on the other axis you need to look at customer readiness or access to even have that conversation with them to get them to adopt the product or brands that you're thinking about. So the reality shapes the segmentation and targeting.
I agree. But this is why I really like this project. It's super close. The way I'm seeing the field force and the marketing team, small teams working very fast for a big launch, and the way they are working together with their target lists, that then we are leveraging and learning and adapting our targeting for the NPP based on the sales reps, based on the information they're providing. It's because we are going for a small amount of customers in the beginning. Perfect. The very, very early adopters. And I love this approach. But I completely agree when we're talking about a bigger scale. things ultimately are not as easy as this, but it just shows the level of collaboration between the two in real life, down to target list level, for example.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
one team. It's not two separate teams. We need to get rid of
Yeah.
silos.
Yeah.
Marketing is trying to, drive performance. Sales are trying to drive performance. I think as long as people understand we're on the same side and behave in that way, we can win faster. We've got a lot of comments from the audience. Do you want us to maybe bring them
Oh,
into
really?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of chat here.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What are we saying that's controversial?
I don't think it's
Mm,
controversial. Some are agreeing.
Oh, they're saying that basically marketing and medical. So Janine Hamilton, thank you so much. Thank you so much for asking questions. Thank you for getting on this conversation with us. So she's saying yes and no. Okay. So the question is, marketing and medical role is to support sales, right? And I sort of, to be honest, I'm not necessarily agree with that, because I'm seeing a rise of um, self-serve model, for example. So like when I used to buy a business service in the past, I used to always, like, you have to talk to sales, before you buy anything, right? Now what I'm seeing is like companies go through, they give you a lot of content, so you like engage and you feel like you're wanted, and then you sort of go through a self-service model, which basically makes the role of sales more sort of like influential, more of a like a medical sales liaison, where you don't directly sell, where you more like influence. And that's where I disagree with Miss Jinian here. But again, that's my point here. Maybe you guys will disagree with me, which is going to make this conversation even better. Who wants to go first?
Who wants to disagree with Stefan?
Oh, you want to disagree? Okay, go ahead.
I
You
think
can disagree.
I think in the past, like looking at 20 years ago, sales would go out there and say, this is my territory, these are my customers, and if anybody wants to talk to them, they need to, like, I need to know about it. I'm being quite territorial. And marketing role was kind of like, these are the messages, I want you to go and deliver it in that order. I think we have evolved since then. And in the way we work, we see the customer and we see us as a team, medical marketing and sales, trying to find what their need is and address their need with our product and services and flex in the way that they prefer it. Honestly, I see marketing and medical as my friends. I see them as my enablers. I don't see that they're there to serve me. I see them as my partners, helping me for us to achieve results for the customers. And at the end of the day, you often say this: sales is not doing something to someone, sales is doing something for someone. So you're trying to find the customer pain point and deliver something that addresses that pain point. I can't do that on my own as a salesperson. I need to have a team behind me, medical information, marketing, everybody in the company is there to support me. And we need to use as a tag team, get the right person to go and have that conversation. And sometimes we need to even bring the supply people to talk to customers, because they want reassurance about continuity of supply. I mean, there's been a lot of issues around some of the medicine in NHS that there's not availability of the medicine. So now I feel we need to think more holistically. And also there's other issues around sustainability, environmental impact of medicine. Sometimes I need to reach out for somebody who can reassurance about, is it sustainable, is it recyclable, because those are the key things are influencing healthcare providers' decision making. Is not just about efficacy and safety of the product, is about bigger impact on environment. So for that reason, I don't see the world the way you said, Stefan. I see us as one team. Maybe in some companies there's still those silos, but I think the nirvana is for us to be more aligned and get rid of the silos. Silos are
I
like cancer.
I well, I see pharma as something. I see pharma as something that's a bit behind other industries in terms of like understanding in terms of business. Maybe that's my own. That's how I see the world. I don't know. Let me put my glasses here. Maybe they're pink, right?
No, you're
Uh,
right. We are behind. There's no doubt about it. I
so
mean, I'm
so
an,
in
mm,
just to finish, and then and then what I see is that because it's behind, there is still this delimitation between marketing and sales. But in other industries where it's a bit forward. You don't have marketing and sales anymore. You have revenue. You have a chief revenue officer who's responsible for all the revenue, and you have multiple teams inside the revenue department. You have revenue operations. You have certain mini departments, and so you do not have this like dogs and cats war, sort of like marketing and sales. Whoa. Who will win? You know, who will have more influence? Who will get better, bigger budget, and so on. Sorry, you can continue now.
I think you're absolutely right. We're not there. I mean, I'm talking to other entrepreneurs that are running businesses direct to consumers. The level of data, the level of sophistication they have in their digital marketing is an absolute dream. In pharma, we don't even have sometimes the basic stuff integrated. The marketing campaign are not integrated with the CRM system. So we've got a long way to go. But I think the first step we need to shift in pharma is the marketing's mindset. I think marketing is still thinking brand. They're thinking therapy area, and they don't think about customers and customers' pain point. You talk to any UX designer, the first thing they ask is, what's the pain point we're trying to address? As you talk to marketeers, they're saying, this is the brand I need to sell, and these are the targets I need to achieve. Is a small thing, but is a fundamentally different mindset shift. And I think pharma is behind because it's still thinking brand, is not thinking about customer pain point. And that's where the conflict happens. The field team are dealing with customers, so they're hearing the customer pain points. Sometimes they can't feed that back to marketing, and marketing say, well, do what I'm telling you, because I want to sell this brand, I've got this target to meet. And then now you've got omni-channel people that are trying to kind of bring a different perspective, and there's a mismatch of thinking and mindset between the three. And that's where the conflict happens. But I agree with you, we are very much behind. But the steps that can be taken to address the mindset first.
I got a remark here for Harmeet here. So how much? So we're talking about brand. We're talking about brand / engagement here, right? In terms of and my question is, how much brand / engagement and other types of, let's say, content is a healthy one? And where have you seen good bad examples? Maybe you could come up with stuff like that.
Yes. So you're talking about the weighting of the content, so being more brand and being more specific. So like the need. Good question. So I've seen a huge variety. And let me put it out there, in terms of the process and the way I work, I understand the brand. I read the brand plan. I need to digest it. I need to get it. I've got it. But for me, I need to know the deep insights and understanding around our customers, leveraging all types of data and learnings. That's another subject. So I have seen where we are pushing, for example, to really go customer-centric first, understanding the pain points. We do things quite smart as well. We add different behavioral models. Why not? You want to get deeper. You want to understand the audiences. You want to know the differences. Not all audiences are the same customer, like we've said before. So I've seen where we really push on educational, value-added content first. And that's a big push. I understand. I'm in an agreement with the conversations that you two have been having, but we have to bear in mind the reality also of the marketing team. They've got to speak higher up and get the sales. So there's an element of brand, but that shouldn't be the first conversation. Even now, we're planning tactics and materials and messaging, and it's what promotional message can we say? No. What are the deep pain points that we've understood? What are the psychographic kind of elements? What are the motivations of these customers? You'll get to the brand. Your answer will be the brand, ideally, but it doesn't have to be the first thing you say, for example. And the great thing I love doing is testing. Always. We're doing it right now. Different display ads, different emails. Let's go with this unmet need message first and try this one. Let's go with these pain points and try this one. Let's have this one promotional with your promotional key message first. So I've seen a big mix. I'm an advocate of always addressing what the customer needs, obviously. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer, but I've seen, and I have some clients that are like, these are the messages, do it on every single channel you can think of.
You know,
No.
Harmeet, I was working with a client, and they wanted to, one of the strategies to become more customer focused was to encourage everyone to write customer centric SWOT analysis. When they started writing the SWOT, most of the SWOT they wrote was brand specific. And the reason they couldn't write a customer centric SWOT analysis is because they don't know enough about customers. And I think sometimes we think we know, but I think most of the knowledge is about the therapy area and the brand we're selling. And we kind of like trying to find one thing that we can hook the brand to it. But really, if you spend time to understand the customers and their pain points, the things that impact them, you know, their environment, then you find better sweet spots that the brand can meet it much more succinctly. So rather than going with the shopping list of throwing messages at them, you can actually condense it to one message that directly engages it. And I can give you specific examples. Like there was a brand I was working on that I think that we were focusing on the brand itself, and then we listened to the customers and we changed our approach. We, with input from HCPs, we created an event that we wanted to invite like specific people, maybe 8 people, to attend this event, because we wanted to specifically train them, because these are like the key opinion leaders. We sent the invitation last Tuesday, but last Friday we had 30 people registered. We were going to close it, but we thought, no, we're not going to close it. And today I checked, we've got over 40 people registered for it. I'm asking myself why. And I think it's because the content is addressing an unmet need succinctly, and they organically sharing the details, and most people like want to come into this event because it was created based on their input. So I kind of like think if marketing spent a bit more time pondering on understanding customers, really articulating, really getting under the skin of their emotions, the motivations that you talk about, then sit back and look at the brand and see, does it genuinely meet this, and what specific thing it meets, and prioritize it. I think we'd be a lot more successful. I think what we tend to do is more of the same of what the competitors are doing. We benchmark ourselves versus competitors rather than benchmark ourselves on how good are we in satisfying their need, and be really honest with each other. Some of their needs we can't satisfy, so don't go there. Go to areas where we can satisfy. And then we can't satisfy every customer's needs. So when it comes to segmentation, focus on account and customers that we can genuinely address their need, and forget about exit the markets where we can't, and be really honest about it.
Okay, we have a comment. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you
Sure.
right now. We have a comment or a question actually. It says, whose pain points, the HCPs or the patients? Because they don't have the same pain points, and we need to clarify exactly who we are addressing.
Me.
You girl.
Go girl, you go girl.
I'm so glad you asked that. See how excited I get. I need to calm down. Okay. So I love that question. I love it because part of the strategy, upfront strategy, is understanding the patient as well as the HCP. I'm so glad that question came up. Bog standard strategy 101 patient journeys, for example, really understanding the journey that the patient goes through, layering on the stakeholders. This is like a practice done all the time, I understand, but sometimes it often gets missed. But understanding their pain points, their needs, layering then the HCPs and the stakeholders, who's involved, what are their pain points, what are the opportunities, standard patient journey, as an example. So I think it's a great question, and definitely understanding the patients as well as HCPs. Also, I'm seeing something quite interesting, quite cool, specifically in the US, as you could imagine, how we're taking learnings from DTC campaigns, taking the learnings into HCP engagement. Oh, juicy stuff. I haven't seen it yet, but the fact that marketers are talking about this, and just to Mehrnaz's earlier point, I have to give kudos to the marketing teams. I have worked with some great marketing teams that are pushing boundaries, doing the right thing first, if I'm honest, with a lot of hesitancy in the company and organizations. So I'm seeing a shift. Technology has always been there. It's about the education we need internally, for example, and the upskilling. Technology has always been there. Like you say, we're behind. Technology's been there in other industries. But yeah, I love that question. Always understand both, please.
Mehrnaz, do you have anything to add?
I think the point Harmeet makes is absolutely fundamental, because patients are the end users, even though that we don't directly communicate with them. But also the other aspects is sometimes parents or the carers. So we need to take that into consideration, because their attitude and behaviors can actually determine compliance and preferences for formulation of the brands. So we need to be mindful of their challenge, because they could be a barrier to prescribing or adoption as well. So it's important to take that into consideration.
Nice. Guys, we have a comment from someone that we all know and love, Claudia. Claudia, I'm so happy to have you here. She is, guys, for everyone before this started, we discussed that we all know Claudia and we all love Claudia, so that's the key thing. So she's saying, the challenge does not start with the brand strategies not being customer-centric enough. Hence, the teams at local level having to reconcile brand and customer need themselves, like if they were trying to do magic. And I see you guys looking and reading. So who wants to comment on that? And then there is another comment, but let's go through parts.
So I'm reading the first part. I agree. And I'm going to say I agree with you, Claudia. So yeah, I completely agree. But I think it was kind of part of what I was saying earlier. So digest the brand plan, understand the brand plan. Okay, we now get the strategies, the critical success factors, everything from a brand perspective. But yes, how do we take what we need to be doing, but now coming up with a communication strategy that is customer centric, for example. So that's typically kind of the process, if you like, how I've been doing it. And then the second part, hence the teams at a local level having to reconcile brand and customer themselves if they were trying to do magic. I don't 100% understand that. I'm sorry. I don't know if somebody else does.
Yeah, I'm quite happy.
I may be reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one question. I think I agree with what Claudia is saying. There's a mismatch here. From a strategic point of view, you need to have a red thread through the whole process of communication. If you have a strategic plan that is brand centric and not customer centric, then it comes to affiliates, they need to try to fix it. So you're not getting the red thread, and it's unfair to the affiliates. Or if the affiliates don't get it right, it comes to the field team trying to fix it. So I think the core of the strategy needs to be customer centric, and the brand needs to match the gap, or like the sweet spot, the brand can meet that need. And if you haven't got it sorted at the top, it's just not going to have the right cascade, and the red thread's not coming through. And you're right, it creates more work for other people, and it breaks down trust as well, because if affiliate have to go and do the work that the expected global team should have done it, then they feel quite resentful, and it creates more work for them.
Let's not create resentfulness inside the workplace, please. So I want to ask, I'm sorry, Steph, I'm jumping in, but prior to our discussions with Mehrnaz, we discussed about your next book or something like that. And we discussed, and I know you talked about the importance of the evolution, let's say, of marketing being more customer centric. So I know you touched a little bit about that, but I want to go a little bit in depth and to understand. You said that we need to change, let's say, from brand awareness to being more customer. And that way we can integrate or work in the ways of integrating sales and marketing better, because the clients we're all going to be working as we are with one client, the same client, and that's our end deal. But how do you think this changes or this evolving will happen? Do you think we're in the way of that happening? Would you think there are some issues in the middle, or what are your thoughts?
Change is not easy. Humans would avoid change as far as possible. People want to do what they're comfortable with. So, it's not easy. And if you don't have a roadmap, and there's not lack of clarity, you kind of like running around like headless chickens. And I think the problem is everybody knows pharma needs to change. Everybody knows pharma's behind, and everybody's talking about transformation, but there's not real clarity about who needs to do what and how you change. And companies create this like competency framework, but the competency framework doesn't define what is it that you need to do on Monday or behaviors you need to have. So I think with marketing is reaching a kind of like that tipping point that there is a need to shift, because the whole communication methodology is shifting because of the transformation. And if marketing is still doing what they did 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it's going to be a point of evolution that won't survive. That behavior won't survive. So either the individual needs to change, or then the evolution would remove them from the food chain. So I think what drives change is necessity. Either pressure to evolve, like even look at pharma was not ready to do digital transformation until COVID happened. COVID
Yes.
forced it to do, but it should have happened ages ago. I mean, how many of us go and visit a bank? How many of us go to a branch? How many of us write a check? We do everything online. I put my hand up. In America, they're quite backwards. They still give checkbooks. And I was going to open a business banking in US this week, and the guy was saying to me, "Oh, we charge so much for checking your balance on an ATM." And I was saying, "Why would I check my balance on an ATM?" He said,
What's an
"You'd be
ATM?
surprised." Yeah. And I was just thinking, like, but the banking, which is a highly regulated industry, has moved so much. And I remember HSBC put staff in the branches. So if you visit the branch of HSBC 5 years ago, because you were laggard and you were not adopting technology, they would have staff that would take you into a terminal and show you how to do your online banking. So I think maybe we need to have some system helping marketeers to shift their own mindset, but there needs to be a change process for that. But I think it's very much needed. And I was talking to somebody this morning. They said the biggest challenge they're having in the global team is around marketing's mindset around omni-channel. They think omni-channel is something you just do the campaign like you've always done, do everything you did, and then at the end of that process, you just think, okay, what channels do I use? Omni-channel is a way of, it's like you need to think about that from the outset. You need to look at the behaviors of the customers. Where do they go to source information for education or for knowledge or the data, and then embed that understanding in your whole campaign development, not something you bolt at the end of it. So the mindset really needs to shift. We're going to have a really interesting panel discussion about it in 3 weeks' time in Dubrovnik.
Yeah.
And I've listened to the speakers in the panel, and they quite controversial. They say that we need to really change fundamentally. Otherwise, marketing won't survive in pharma. And like you said, Stefan, a lot of organization outside pharma, they don't have sales and marketing function per se. They're revenue generators. So maybe that will happen in pharma as well.
Let's hope. Let's not close marketing, please, because I will be without a job and I cannot be without a job. So let's evolve, people. So we have another question from our audience saying, I'm going to post it here, from Freddie. He's saying, great talk. My question is, how many messages is too many messages per segment? Should we alternate messages by quarter / journey, or try to deliver 2 to 3 messages consistently to drive a recall? Who guys want? Harmeet, I see you nodding. Do you want? I see you getting exciting. So
Me. How am I going to answer this though? Okay. So a great question. The one thing that came into my mind, so I'm just going to read the questions so I get all of it. Should we alternate messages? Okay. So I'm going to give you an example because one, I'm rooting for the marketing teams. Come on, marketing teams. And second, I've had a great experience recently that would probably help answer this. Pharma company, okay, probably a bit sophisticated, but they have done a great job in building their own omni-channel engine, is what they were calling it. And in there, you're taking external sales data, original CRM data, including notes from the reps. And it was actually helping understand multiple information about the customer audience, giving you your 360 view. And it truly was. It was also actually highlighting, using AI and machine learning, highlighting potential adopters, low adopters, prescription growth rate potential, and also content consumption. That's the big one. So there is no one answer for that. And I technically would not base it on a timing plan, although I know that's how we do marketing, typically in cycles, in quarters, in sprints. I understand that. But if there is a way of learning and understanding what message works, ideally using a sophisticated CRM, for example, because what we're doing, as long as you're tagging the content correctly, it was actually giving you your next best action and the channel. And it was saying these are the top 3 collectively from all the healthcare providers. These are the top 3 key messages. So say you have 8, typically. These are the top 3 that have been most consumed. And then even on an individual level. Like that is the level I want us to be getting to. And it is feasible. It's happened. I've worked with it. It's amazing. So sorry, not probably the best answer to give you just, yes, do 2 to 3. But if there is a way, probably not as sophisticated, that you can learn what are the top messages, please, you know, leverage the content in your DAM, please tag, please tag. And work like with the content excellence team, for example, internally. And I'm going to go.
We got a question here. Shouldn't be responses rather than messages?
It's really funny. It's really funny you say that, because I was going to say, being at the like a front end communicating with HCPs, I think less is more. And I think what we find is we listen to what they say and we pick the message that is relevant to the conversation. So I would say, you know, if you use theoretical marketing stimulations, the more messages you put in, the less impact it would have. So less is more. But for every given interaction with the individual HCPs from the segment you're selecting, you need to listen to what they say. Like you said earlier on, Harmeet, you give flexibility to the field team to use the page or the content from the deck that is relevant. It's not the quantity of content, is keeping the conversation very precise on the point that really matters to them. So I would say don't have more than 3 messages, because you confuse them and it becomes like a tick box. But then on a given interaction, focus on the most pertinent one with a given HCP to have more impact.
We have another question. Come on, guys. It's your time to give all the questions you have. So the question is, how can sales and marketing collaborate in developing relevant and valuable content for healthcare providers? Who wants to tackle that? Mehrnaz?
Yeah, I can.
And then we go to Harmeet, because I can see she's excited as well.
I keep it short and sweet. I've seen case studies developed for brands, and I read them, and I kind of think this doesn't sound like a patient. And a couple of years ago, we actually worked with HCPs. They wrote case studies, and their case studies were much more real. And I remember we helped them develop a booklet to collate all the case studies, and the case studies were describing the scenarios. And when we were showing those case studies to other healthcare professionals, they were saying, yeah, I can relate to a David, I can relate to a Marjorie. So I think the best content is the content that is actually created by HCPs based on their real experiences, and is a really good way of educating others because others can relate to it.
Nice. Harmeet?
I think the question also for me, it kind of links back to, I guess, the first question you asked us, is finding methodologies, whatever works for your team and their pressures of their job, but ways that they can be working together a lot more and communicating and feedbacking, but also give a sense of authority and ownership and freedom to the sales team.
Okay.
So that comes down to, like I say, understand your customer, deep insights if possible, multi-layered segmentation if possible, and then have the content that we need, but again, package it and feed it back to the sales reps to get an idea of what they believe is the right messages according to their customers, and then give them the freedom and ownership to use the content that they see relevant for Dr. Joe, for example. So, and again, I know everyone's time poor, not just the healthcare professionals, like we all are. I get it. I understand. But honestly, it's not difficult to arrange a call with 5 reps, for example. So, and then as frequently as you want to be doing it, as much as you want their involvement, if they're happy to be involved. And they, I don't know, but from experience, they're always happy to be involved and be heard. And they come up with great insights. They were helping us shape our efficacy story. They were helping us shape our, like the key messages. So.
I love that. Yeah. We need more people like you, Harmeet, in the industry, who open and inclusive and welcome feedback.
I'm actually seeing a good shift. I don't know. I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. Like over 12 years, things are moving in the right direction. Good. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
Nice. Or I'm just working with a select few. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, I think there's a mix. There's a mix everywhere, and there are some really talented people who are focused and doing the right thing and being inclusive and getting rid of the silos. And there's still some that's still, traditional in their way of thinking. Like anything else, you've got early adopters, you've got laggards, and you've got the masses in between. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So we're close to ending, and this is sad, but it's the thing. So I would love to have a close remarks for you guys. If you have anything to say to our audience or leave our audience with, who wants to go first? A closing remark.
I could go first. I would say one of the key things we need to think about is HCPs are under tremendous amount of pressure. There's long waiting times. Patients are waiting for surgeries or appointments for a long time. We've got a duty and responsibility to make sure we don't waste HCPs' time. So every time we're thinking about reach, we need to think about how we can actually address a pain point that helps them to be able to deliver better care for the patients. And focus on that. It's not about quantity, it's about quality and being really relevant to their pain point.
Thank you for that. Harmeet?
Yeah, that's an amazing answer. And then I guess it's no, but it's like the why. Ultimately, what should we be doing? All of us, sales, marketing, anyone in the organization. And then I guess the part 2 maybe is then the how. So please collaborate. I have seen even on an EMEA level, content excellence not collaborating with the digital and the tech team, for example. So find strategies and ways of working where you can collaborate, collaborate with the sales reps efficiently, making sure that you have results at the end of it. But ultimately, to do what Mehrnaz said at the end of the day is the most important. But work together in any way possible and share, and honestly, internally, share case studies, share learnings across therapy areas, across markets, across the organization. Everyone is I get it, everyone's time poor working in their zone. But yeah, I could keep going. It's not closing, is it?
What
I-
might help in terms of how is I've written a book about the Omni Advantage. The Omni Advantage is not about technology, it's about people and how we can bring people, medical, marketing, and sales together on this journey so we can actually be the trusted advisors for healthcare professionals as an industry. So if you've not checked it out, check it out because it's written more like a roadmap to give you the how.
Nice. Nice. So, guys, I will want to thank you all for being here. Thank you, our panel. And to all our attendees, thank you so much. Your comments and questions were amazing. And we were so happy that you enjoyed this as much as we did. So, without any further delay, have a great weekend. And I will see you all on our next Pharma Insights. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye.
Thank you.